election in the bag. But never mind that, it's still probably on the cards that Labour's going to win the next election. That the press have given them an easy time. You know, they've not. Contrast that, by the way, with the treatment meted out to his predecessor, Jeremy Corbyn. Absolute hatred. You know, every day the Daily Mail, the Daily Excess or Daily Express, how many babies was going to eat that day, as far as Corbyn was concerned when he was in power. We warned him, by the way. We warned him, unless he took the right wing, the Labour Party on, unless he took people like Watson and Stone, who was organising behind his back, the outcome would be there'd be a counter-revolution inside the Labour Party, and of course they take it back. And they've not only take it back, they've gone even further now. You know, it's a party that's unrecognisable from the past, if you like. But we understand that millions of workers will still vote Labour. Some be holding their nose that this imposter has now took control of the Labour Party. I think when you assert, it gives it all away. The establishment don't hand knighthoods out to people like Scargill or Corbyn or the likes of me and you. It's for his work for the system, if you like, Sir Keith, if you like. But there was still, because of the hatred of the Tories, that it's possible, most likely, that Labour will win the next election. But you have to ask yourself, how is he going to make it work? If the Tories can't make it work, if these people, there's the links to big business, to world finance, the banks, the finance houses, the money markets, not just business, the family ties, the 1,000 connections between the rich and the powerful and the 150 multinationals that control the British economy are absolutely webbed through and through 1,000 times over. Of course, in the Socialist Party, we'd stand for the nationalisation of the commanding heights of the economy. For people who've been in the Labour Party a long time, there was a clause in it, Clause 4, Part 4, which more or less stated that for the working class to have control of the means of production, including the finance houses, in order to satisfy the needs of working people. Of course, when Blair got in, then the first thing he did was to get rid of Clause 4, Part 4, make it the Labour Party a non-socialist party, and of course denationalise the Bank of England at the same time. Of course, we take them companies back into public ownership. We would pay compensation on proven need, not give out billions and billions of compensation, and they would be run a democratic workers' control as part of a system to meet the needs of the working people as we see it. What's Starmer's response to that? Well, of course, on your behalf, he went to Davos, that nice little working class town in the I think it's a Swiss Alps or somewhere, guarded by an actual army to make sure that no one could get to them. And he took your voice there, because of course the Labour Party, me and many millions of other workers pay our subs to the political levy, and we pay for these people. He went to Davos, but did he take the voice of the working class and Britain with him to argue with these wealthy bankers that why we need a pay rise? I don't think so. He really went to satisfy the international markets, that capitalism was safe in his hands. There's no need to worry that it's not Jeremy Corbyn, it's not anyone from the left, that the Labour Party's safe in his hands. And on the 1st of February this month, it was in Parliament. I thought, great, he's going to address the issues that's facing working people. 50,000 workers were on the streets outside in Parliament Square, and Starmer went in and didn't ask one question about these strikers outside. Not why are these strikers, not one word he said about that. He tried to pin Richie Sunak on something else, rather than trying to bring that power and the people you're supposed to represent inside the house, the hallowed House of Parliament, in order to press his case, and that wasn't the case. TUSC was founded by Bob Crow, really, co-founded by Bob Crow. People might remember him. That in 2010, he was the leader of the RMT. He said that Labour was no longer a workers' party. It was no longer a vehicle for change. It did not represent working people. And we obviously agreed with him, and we were in that coalition again, which is TUSC. Turned out to be. They'd been expelled from the Labour Party. The RMT is no longer part of the Labour Party and hasn't been for 12 years. They were expelled for supporting socialists in Scotland, by the way. Some of the forerunners of the TUSC organisation in Scotland, because we're a national organisation in all four parts of the British Isles. Of course, we had already been expelled because they didn't really like it when Labour MPs were taking workers' wages in Parliament, when we had 3 MPs which were supported the militants. And there's a funny story, Dave Nellis, who's one of our MPs there, he was they gave him a room with Tony Blair, because they were both, in 1983, they were both elected to Parliament. Of course, that didn't last long. I think Dave had to move out and get his own place in Parliament. You can imagine why. But it wasn't just for the minimum wage and taking workers' wages in Parliament. Don't forget, it was us alone, by the way, on his own, with a few other individuals, led the massive £14 million non-payment against the poll tax. You know, that was another reason why they expelled us from the Labour Party, because the way we led that campaign in a democratic, organised manner, and it put the last nails in Thatcher's coffin. Of course, it wasn't long after that she had to go after that campaign. Of course, again, it was Labour in that campaign who never backed the campaign, by the way, and they were more vociferous in jailing people than anybody else. 34 of our comrades from the Socialist Party went to prison during that campaign, including one of the MPs as well, by the way. Terry Fields in Liverpool spent 30 days in Walton prison for his non-payment of the poll tax, in solidarity with the rest of the 14 million. Okay, of course. We had 3 MPs who took workers' wages in the 1980s. Of course, can you imagine that now? Imagine what a catalyst that could be for working people, elected, taking a worker's wage, as we think that should be the case inside the Labour and trade union movement as it is. But I think it was Liverpool that really did it for them when we stood up in the 5th biggest city in Britain, and under our leadership, then we took Liverpool had a demonstration of 50,000 in that city alone, which was electrifying because I was actually on it, and that really sealed our fate, if you like. We can't have this party, this part of the party, taking on the government, winning, by the way, and running the council, a council which built over 5,000 council houses, by the way, which was more than all the other Labour councils in Britain that particular year, built leisure centres, refurbished thousands of homes for rent, took on contractors, or vetted contractors, made sure they took on apprenticeships on trade union rates of pay, and so on. So they were all under the influence, or under the leadership of the Socialist Party at that time. And of course, then there was all debarred from office. Never lost election, by the way. Any of those militant councillors never lost election. In 2015, of 135 candidates that stood in the general election, most of them, many of them were Socialist Party members, who got over 100,000 votes. And plus, when you stand under the umbrella of TUSC, then we managed to get to so you could get party political broadcasts. And I'd advise it, I like to ask anyone, go onto the website, just view that party political broadcast from TUSC in the 2015 election, because it's like a breath of fresh air. So that's the Socialist Party. We make up the political majority of TUSC. Will's already explained there are many other strands to TUSC, but a lot of the input has come from the Socialist Party. And anyone's interested in a further discussion about the Socialist Party, they could see me after this, and we could arrange a discussion. We're active throughout the British Isles, Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, and throughout the world, by the way. So, if you'd like to have, my name's John. You can see me after the after the event. Okay, and if you'd like to buy our paper, by the way, it's a weekly paper. It's only £1 to you. And just I'll trust you and you can put the money in the tin. Okay, I'll leave it there.
Thanks very much.